Okay, so as you can see, Andre did some beans here just recently. Oh, there goes the screen. Don't know if it's working. Here we got some tomatoes growing. Well, we just got them in a couple of days ago. I don't know what that's cucumbers down there. And then we've got some little basil. Nothing started yet. It's pretty cold in here. Actually, I should put them in the greenhouse itself because the greenhouse is a little warmer. As you can see, I've been out here starting to clear out. I have to fix up the bricks in there. Just kind of moving everything, right? I found some sod, 6 pieces of sod, so I got to get up in here and start picking out this stuff to lay this sod in here. Although it leaks, so I get this river in the wintertime and it washes away everything. But anyway, I got 6 pieces of sod that I can come in here and patch up a little bit, right? So I got to work out here. Hold on a minute. So as you can see, what I've done, right? What I did, people, is I took these right here that I made last year, right? And I put them in here. It's very nice now, right? As I'm having to still do this. Oh, it's very cold today. But once you're out here working, you forget. See, there's that sod I found. It was free, right? Some other dude took a whole bunch more. He needed more than I did. I just took 6 pieces for the back, right? So I got to get this laid down like ASAP, otherwise it's going to start dying. Algae growth. So I did this yesterday because I was out here mowing the grass, right? So I have to switch this around. So technically, I don't really have time to log anything right now, people. Like I said, I don't want the city coming to the house. Blah, 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 blah. You know, start up that shit. They had me out here for a whole freaking year, man. This is what I did yesterday. You can see, right? It's starting to look nice. Everything is growing, right? So I want to get this bucket out of here, right? So I have to drain out the water, which I'll actually start doing. And then I have to, you know, put new water in there for the fish. Fred, he's in there. I didn't finish all the grass, so I have to finish it. You can see, right? Cleaned up in here. Gave my blueberry plants some food. As you can see, I have to get in here and wash out the rocks, make it nice, right? So I got to get some more dirt, right? Over here, this is what I was working in yesterday, people. I'm getting the ground ready. And these people with their bloody, I don't know. Ugh. So you can see, I'm in the dirt. This is why my nose is running, right? I'm having to dig up this crap, right? You can see, right? It's there, right? So I'm getting this all ready. I'm putting a few potatoes in the ground. I like them. You know, just getting everything ready, right? Get these seeds ready. So I have to get some more seeds done. But it's breezy out here today. It's cold. Ooh. It's cold, but I'm having a hard time focusing. If I come out here, I don't have to focus. This is focusing, but it's a different kind of focusing, right? I forget about my pain because I'm working. I don't think about it. When you stop, that's when you think about the pain because that's when you really feel it, right? So anyway, I'll probably just come out here and, you know, and just call it another day. Get this out of here, right? You can see it's coming along. That's where the waterfall will be, slowly but surely. I have to go to Home Depot, use my credit card, go buy some more cement so I can make some more blocks in here and make it kind of uniform. It doesn't have to be perfect, but make those kind of blocks and replace them back in here, right? Only reason I did this is because I have to get this into the ground, right? And then once it's in the ground, then I can just put the blocks back on and it'll be done, right? And then this will be the last piece.
I look at Sky.
Oh yeah, and this is our favorite little kitten. This is the little kitten that was born outside in the middle of 20 below weather on a chair, all by herself, her mommy. And oh, she's such a lovely little kitten. She's a therapy kitten. She purrs all the time. She's so, so loving. Okay, people. May 9th, 2016. Sorry, 2017. On my Facebook feed, they keep bringing up these memories, and they keep bringing up these old GoFundMes that have been deleted. right? Because they get spammed, right? They get spammed by a troll network that's obviously paid by somebody to shut down certain GoFundMes that prevent people from getting lawyers. That's basically what it is, people. The first GoFundMe I had was to try and get a lawyer to get back Andre, because again, I didn't qualify for a lawyer, right? I was told that I was a grandma and I was unimportant, and that the issues that was going on with my grandson only had to do with him, his mother, and his father, even though every member in this house looked after Andre when Andre was born. And I've said it in a previous video, they don't just go after the parents, they go after the whole family. They criminalize the whole family. And the whole family has to defend itself against false accusations. As the people that do this stuff build a case to try and prove that they have a case. So anyway, the first GoFundMe got shut down through a troll network. And also too, people, I'm not a real social butterfly. I've mentioned it before. My idea of a social butterfly is, you know, putting together a little event, like a park event, or, you know, Malcolm X chocolate milk party for the kids, you know, doing something for the kids, you know, putting myself out there and having craft tables and all these musical instruments that you see me have. Just for the record, for the YouTube record, in light of Rumorville, were all purchased through my family allowance, which is the BC benefit for children, as my kids were growing up and as I was working on the nonprofit. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that went into $40,000 into debt over a period of 6 years. Literally, my credit debt load was $40,000 for the period of 6 years while I was off of social assistance. I continued to receive my family allowance, my child benefit tax credit, for those 6 years. But outside of that, my credit debt load went up $40,000. That's how I supported my family, while I continued to work on the nonprofit, promoting it to secure it under a federal trademark name. And the reason that I got the federal trademark name back in the day was because I was a welfare recipient and I had dependent children and I was a single mother and my children were minorities. So when someone like that comes to you, just based on the way we judge people in our society, right? And how we value people in terms of what their assets are. If you have no assets, you have no value. So when someone like me decided to promote a universal school meal program, because that's what the schools were telling me on the phone, that's what the school boards and the people that work in the offices were telling me, right? That the biggest thing, the biggest need back in 2000, and it's still like that today, people. If anything, the need is even bigger now, right? Because of the economy, it's no good. Only good for the rich. Only good for the BC Liberal government and their cohorts, their criminal partnerships, right? Those are the only people that are really prospering. But back in 2000, you know, I phoned up the schools. I've said this before, and well, the school boards. It was the school boards that I was phoning. It wasn't the schools. It was the school boards, like 7 of them or something. And every one of them were all saying that the biggest need within the school system was they needed a school meal program. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's the direction I'll take the nonprofit in, right? And then in terms of the United States, they already had the meal program, but you know, there's like a lot of schools that needed repairs in the United States. So in that case, for the United States, it was more school restoration. So I stepped off with the foot where in Canada it was a school meal program, universal school meal program. And for the United States, it was school restoration. Because in this way, I as an individual founding a nonprofit, could reach the most children that way was through the school system, the public school system initially, right? And the biggest needs were school restoration and school meal program. However, I was already being attacked, right? In terms of just the, I didn't have the picket white fence with the poodle on the side and the 2-car garage and, the perfect husband with the perfect kids, and I didn't have the RRSPs. I didn't go to Morocco for a holiday. I didn't wear diamond rings and, and $200 pair of shoes. And, I didn't have any of that. All I had was basically security. That was the first thing I had. I had a sense of security. I had a sense of being grateful. I had a sense of wanting to give back to my community because of my ability to raise my children in a peaceful manner, right? That they were happy. You ask my kids what it was like for them before the BC Liberal government came into power, and they'll tell you that they were extremely happy. And we were. We were in Wally's house for 8 years. I built them a playground. They had security. My problem is I couldn't go out and go to work, right? Because I had the 5 kids, first of all. And obviously I was committed to looking after Uncle John, right? I mean, it's impossible for Uncle John to look after the kids while I worked 10 hours a day. It was just not feasible. So, and I had tried creating companies in the past in terms of, my outfits, right? But that never really came about. And so I decided to try and take the clothing and combine it with a nonprofit and give back that way. Because, again, I had a sense of security. I had a sense of future. I had a sense of that my kids were going to be okay, right? And, I've always been a little go-getter to some degree. I've always been motivated, I've always tried to do things, and I wasn't afraid to build a playground. I wasn't afraid to build a fort, and, I wasn't afraid to found a nonprofit. Like I said, I've tried to form companies in the past. But the thing about, the welfare system is, even if you manage to register it and go through the hoops. I've had to talk to the police, and I had to have the fire department come to my house, and all these other things before, because I was, trying to make I was trying to form a magazine. That's what I was trying to do, for the island, and then I was going to cross over onto the mainland and promote hotels and fishing resorts and that type of thing, and then I was going to incorporate my outfits into that magazine. So there were certain hoops this was when I was age 25. There were certain hoops that I had to jump through, right, in order to get the approval for the license. And Uncle John was there with me while I did all this, right? And I got the license and everything. But the thing is, I was on social assistance. And they laid down the guidelines. They said, okay, you've got 3 months now that you've got your license. We're not going to disrupt. This is when I was 25 years old. And I had, I don't know if Sierra was born at the time or was in my stomach, but I only had 1 or 2 children at the time, right? And they said, you've got 3 months to make money. And if you don't make money, you're going to have to hand in your license. Well, obviously, people, I didn't make any money. Right? 3 months just wasn't long enough. And I was young, I was inexperienced, and nobody was helping me outside of Uncle John. And, he was the one that was giving me the moral support. He was the one that was saying, you do it, you can do it. And sure enough, I had the license. But I ended up having to take that business license, people, and handing it into the welfare office. So that's strike one, okay? And then after my oldest daughter was born, this is the first time I left Victoria. This is after my mom died, right? And my family didn't want to help me. Uncle John was there, you know, but at the end of the day, I couldn't do anything in Victoria. I had already tried. It was just too many old people, and everybody was stuck in their ways, and there really wasn't any opportunity, you know, for much of anything. So I decided to pack up my 2 kids on my family allowance and move to Vancouver and try and start the company again. So I moved over with my 2 kids. And in those days, I wasn't really that good at sewing yet, right? I was still kind of getting into the game. But when I moved over to the mainland, I sewed more. And I actually started to sell some of my clothing, which was good. But I was by myself with 2 kids on welfare, you know, living in some low-income complex. And obviously I wasn't going anywhere with life, right? And so anyway, I tried, and nothing really came out of it. And I ended up going to Alberta for about 5 months to take my son to go see his dad and whatnot. And then Uncle John, you know, he was feeling really depressed, and you know, he was crying up because he used to phone me every week. Every week he'd phone me for the 2 years I was gone, right? Asking me how I was doing. He'd tell me his problems and what was going on, and you know, I'm up in Alberta freezing my butt, and he's in Victoria, you know, crying on the phone that, you know, he doesn't want to live anymore because he can't cope with his wife. He can't cope with his adopted daughter because they were just picking on him all the time, and he was depressed, and he was taking lots of pills, and I'm like, well, I'm sitting up here in Edmonton freezing my butt, you know, I can't go anywhere, I'm isolated. And at that time, he got car insurance money, right, because he got hit by a car. And he says, well, you know, what do you want? And I said, well, I'd really like a sewing machine. That's what I really need, is a good sewing machine. So he bought me a really good sewing machine when I was in Alberta, and then he asked me to come back. And he bought me a car through my uncle, because my uncle was a car salesman. I still have this car today. I've had this car for like 26 years now, right? 27 years? I don't know. I've had this car for a long time. I'm going to try and spark it up, but I don't know. It's pretty freaking old. It's been sitting parked outside for a year and a half, so I don't know what's going to happen to it. But besides that point, Uncle John brought me back. And then, okay, so whatever. Eventually we moved over here because he just couldn't live with his wife, people, and his adopted daughter. That's just the reality of it. And his extended family just abandoned him. Like, they abandoned him the whole time that he lived with me. They abandoned him with Joan and Debbie, and they never helped him. So he ended up moving in with me. We lived in Victoria for a couple of years, or whatever it was, a year and a half or whatever. Almost 2 years. I think it was 2 years. 2 years and a bit. And then before we moved over here. And again, you know, the whole time that we lived in Victoria, people, his family never once came to the house to pick him up, to visit him. His adopted daughter never once came to the house to see him, to pick him up, to go visit him. Nothing. And that's when we lived in Victoria. And then, of course, when we moved over here, never once did they come to visit him. Only one time in 2008 when he had prostate problem. His sister Carol came and visited him. Outside of that, that was it. And she only came for 1 day. That was it. In all the years that we lived out here, and we lived out here for since 90, we moved in 94. Right? I've been outside in the dirt, mowing the grass, playing in the dirt for the last week. And I'm debating what I should do today. I'm torn, people. I'm so torn. Because if I don't keep up with this yard, you know the city's going to show back up, right? And I can't afford to have the city riding my ass. So I've been, like, trying to be on it. I've been pretty faithful out there, going from front to back, just, you know, bringing everything together. I'll take you out there. I'll give you a boo with my little walkway. But, okay, so by the time we moved out here, so I already tried 2 times to start a company, right? And then My youngest was, well, I don't know. She was born in 98. I started working on the nonprofit in 99. There you go. She was born in 98. I started working on the nonprofit in 99. I got the trademark in the year 2000. Hold on a minute. I'm going to cough. Hold on. Okay, I don't have a lot of time. See, my nose is starting to run, right? That's what's happening here. Because, you know, I go to bed and everything just fills up. My ears are ringing, you know, I got that pressure in my eyes. You know, just the whole night I feel like my head's being crushed, right? So, anyway, my youngest was born in 98. I started formulating the nonprofit in my mind in 99. I gathered up $1,000 from Family Allowance or wherever it was. I went to go see a lawyer. And I offered to pay him $1,000 to write me a constitution and a bylaw based on what I wanted to do. And the lawyer said he didn't want to rip me off, right? And he wasn't going to take my money. This coughing, just hold on a minute. Oh, whatever, you've seen me in my worst. I don't know how I can have glaucoma with all this pressure, liquid behind my eyes, just accumulating and not draining. When all this, you know, my nose starts running, just out of a sudden, it just starts running, right? I'm coming into contact with dust. I live in a very dusty house, and like I said, I've been doing lots of yard work. So anyway, he didn't want to take my money. He said, I'm not taking this $1,000 because I feel like I'm ripping you off. That's what he told me. I told him what I wanted to do. I told him I wanted to start, you know, work on a school meal program, universal. And da-da-da-da-da. And he said, no. You need to go home and figure it out for yourself. That's what he said. Take your money and go home and figure it out for yourself. So I took my $1,000. It was downtown. And I walked down the marble stairs. And I sat at the bottom of those marble stairs in some old ancient building. And I just cried. I cried a river. Because this lawyer wouldn't help me. And I went home. I told Uncle John about it. And he says, well, you know, you do what you got to do. Just keep trying. Keep working on it. So I ended up contacting World Vision, a women's center out here for Native women, and another organization. I can't remember which one it was. And I asked them to all send me their bylaws so that I could read those bylaws, study those bylaws, so that I could formulate my own bylaws for the foundation, which I did. I wrote the Constitution, you know, and because I wanted to do things in the United States of America and help the kids out there, because again, my life was good, people, unlike a lot of Americans that are struggling in terms of being poor, because technically I was a poor woman and I was an outcast, right, because of the type of, I guess you could say, life choices that I made in terms of my mates, right, in terms of having children out of wedlock, and you know, not having a sound like a relationship with a husband, right? But you know, there's factors around that, people. You know, maybe one day, you know, like when I was young and stuff, you know, maybe I'll discuss that, right? But you know, there's factors around those choices, because when I was little, like I said, when I went to my grandma, people, I spoke German. I knew absolutely no English. At the age of 5, I could not speak English. My language was German. So you have to ask yourself, where was Judy when she was 3 and 4, before, you know, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old? Where was Judy that Judy learned to speak German and nothing else? She did not know one word of English. Where was she? That's a very good question to ask, don't you think? So anyway, all right, so now, okay, so I got the bylaws in, I read them, I study them, I create my own bylaws, I work on a what do you call that, a constitution. And because I'm feeling grateful, you know, I'm feeling I'm feeling like my children have a future in Canada. I'm feeling like, I can incorporate. I'm not giving up completely on my business, but obviously it wasn't a time to try and really focus on that because I had my kids, I had Uncle John. I was already on a full plate, but I could squeeze in the nonprofit idea into my life and be able to give back to the community, right? And again, I wanted to help, the people in the United States of America, right? Because, in comparison to my life, in comparison to other people's lives in another country that deserve just as much opportunity, I guess you could say, or help, as my family had. It wasn't that we deserved it. We had it. But these people didn't have it in the United States. So for me, it was nothing to reach out that far and extend that hand, right, in terms of wanting to make a difference. I don't know if you can see my nose is running now, right? So, and I wanted to reach the most kids, right? So again, Universal School Meal Program in Canada, School Restoration United States of America. But the thing is, who the heck was going to listen to me? That was the thing, right? Because of my situation with my family life, because people judge on the outside. And it's all done by click, right? In other words, for some people, being in a polygamous relationship, whether they're Muslim, and that's just the way those particular Muslims operate their life, is acceptable. It's acceptable for a Muslim man to have 4 or 5 wives, right? Collecting benefits while he sits at home being daddy to his multiple children, because within his religion that's okay, right? And when you get a whole commune of people like that coming together, living like that, which in the United States is happening, and it's starting to happen out here as the immigrant population is coming in with these ideologies. For some reason, they seem to think that they're so much better than me, even though it's just a bunch of sister wives kind of milking the system, right? For a paycheck, for one man to brag on with his buddies that he's got all that, and he's the epitome of what is right in his world. And it doesn't have to be a Muslim. It could be those people from Bountiful, BC, right? With their Mormon church, right? In the United States, that every now and then cross over the border and traffic young girls between themselves, right? And those are the ones that are casting stones at me. Or the Catholic Church, in terms of John's extended family. They were up in Port Alberni back in the day when the natives were being locked up in those residential schools and being starved and tortured, and some of them went missing, and some of them were murdered, and some of them were used for science experiments and all this other stuff. And for some reason, those Catholic people, with their religion, seem to think that that's okay. So I realized that nobody was going to listen to me. I think that's the point of that. Okay, so that's how the trademark came in. It was to make the idea of a universal school meal program and school restoration, among all those other little things that are in there. Because if you go to one person with one thing, and you take that one thing to that one person, chances are that one person is going to say, well, that's what I'm not interested in, because I'm interested in with this. Before I help you with this, I want to help with this. So that's how all these different little trust accounts came into play, because at the end of the day, everybody when you ask them to help support these school meal programs or school restoration or whatever it is, it all goes back to, as a default, well, it's the government's responsibility. Although the government isn't going to take care of that responsibility until the people step up, right? So I maneuvered in there and made a way for the people to step up so that it's easier for the government to step up. But there's still, there's still a big void. So besides that point, the point is, I don't even think I'm talking about what I wanted to talk about because my nose is running. I can feel it, right? And I'm debating whether I should do this or do that, or I don't know what the heck to do today. I feel so guilty for doing anything today because I'm so under pressure with so much. But first I want to finish this little story, right? So the point is, I got the trademark name after I started working. I hadn't filed it yet. I hadn't filed the nonprofit. Came home, had my cry, lawyer didn't want to help me, blah, blah, blah. Got my bylaws, started writing my own bylaws, started working on my own, on my own constitution. And then, I had this money, right? I still had this money. This was all in a space of a couple months, right? And I hadn't spent it yet because that was going to be for the lawyer, right? And, I don't read my horoscope, but one day I read my horoscope. And it said I needed to protect what I was working on. I needed to protect what I was working on. It didn't say what I was working on. It just said I needed to protect it. And I said to John, John, what do you think that means? And I don't read my horoscope, I don't. And I said, well, I got this money. Do you think that maybe I should try and, do something like maybe copyright what I'm trying to do here or something? So I ended up phoning, a trademark company. And I asked them how I could protect what I was working on and solidify it in terms of if I did it this way, then maybe people would believe me that this is something that we can do in terms of a nonprofit. If enough of us came together for that cause, right? So that's how the trademark came along. I wanted to protect what I was working on. I wanted people to look past me. I didn't want them to look at me and judge me and then sabotage the nonprofit because of me. I felt that if I added a trademark to it, that it would, one, take it national, bring it into an international state. Because if you're dealing with schools on a public setting that can trickle into colleges and, private schools and all this other stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a public setting between the two countries, I just felt that I needed to protect that. So that's why I got the trademark. It was to make you, the viewer, look past me and my flaws. Hold on a minute. Bank wanting its money. Bank bankrupting me. Anyway, I wanted to protect. The bank wants to protect its money, right? As long as the bank gets the money, that's all the bank cares about. But besides that point, I wanted to protect what I was working on, and I wanted people to be able to see past me. I didn't want people to judge me and then sabotage the nonprofit because of me, because of my circumstances in life. Single mother, 5 kids, stuck with an old man, welfare bound, blah, 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 blah. Right? And of course, Uncle John encouraged me to just push forward with everything, so I did. And then, after I started to register the trademark name, obviously the bylaws were coming together, the Constitution was coming together, and then when it came time to submit it to the registers of companies, and then of course they sent it back to me to, do a few adjustments because I didn't know what I was doing, I just did. So I made a few corrections, and then it got registered, right? And then once it was registered, I started a lot of writing and talking.
No, the camera's not working.
It's just the screen, Andre. No, it's recording. Anyway. And then I was under pressure to secure it. So I did what I could do over a space of, I guess, 10 years. Anyway, besides that point, where I'm at today, for the last 4 years, oh yes, back to this GoFundMe. For the last 4 years, life has been pretty rough. It's been 4 years of a lot of hardship, a lot of heartache, a lot of pain, a lot of outside dysfunction, a lot of grief, just things that aren't normal, right? In terms of like losing loved ones in the manner that have been lost, and then not being able to access legal representation, or having to put yourself out there and fight for that legal representation. But, like, first it was with Andre, and then Uncle John. So where I'm at today, on this day, is, I'm doing lots and lots of yard work. I'm torn between, it's a nice day, I need to go out and finish the grass. I have to get these seeds in the ground. I have to get them started in their little, containers. You have to go around the yard, and shake out the dirt so that it's not too compact. And, I'm having to weed. I found over there under by the trees, the raccoons have been naughty. I actually got some numbers here to call. I don't know where it is. To call and, try and figure out what to do with these freaking raccoons. But in the meantime, I've got a big pile of raccoon crap over there that I have to get in there and clean up, and that stuff makes me nauseated, people. It just, ugh. I'm weeding, and I'm getting the ground ready for planting. I'm having to start seeds with Andre, which I'm doing. I'm bricklaying, I'm making bricks, I'm racking up my credit card because I have no other means. I can't even pay my other credit card because it's like $430, and, the one payment by itself is $360 plus, and they keep adding on more fees, and, life is pretty bad. Life is pretty bad right now. And I don't know, my sewing table is completely full of mixed up papers, and, I've got lawyers wanting to dismiss things because they don't want to deal with the issues at hand in terms of the corruption that's in our society right now, because they work for the corporation. They don't necessarily work for what's right or wrong. They work to protect the corporation, even if it's wrong, right? So today is May 9th, 2017. I'm torn between, well, do I list the evidence? I want to. I'm trying to get to my other computer to list this stuff. I've been asking for help, but again, everybody themselves around here is depressed. 4 years of being beat up. It's like being in a concentration camp, right? You just get broken. Seriously, you just get broken. And it's very hard to pick up that harmonica and bring in some happy tunes. So anyway, speaking of musical instruments, all these musical instruments were purchased with my children's family allowance as I was going into debt over a period of 6 years, because the BC Liberal government illegally, can you stop that? What is that? Illegally cut me off of welfare under funky legislation that came in with Bill Clinton when he came over for one of his speeches back in 2001. And even though I got cut off of welfare, I did what I needed to do. Can you stop that?
What?
I don't know what you're doing. You sound like a cat scratching.
No.
So anyway, this is just another blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, well, don't spray the camera with that.
I know. I just bought it.
Oh, I see you.
For Jude.
Oh, for Jude.
Yeah, and Jude has a water gun too.
Oh, he does, eh?
Yeah, I wish he could bring it over here or I could.
Nana's debating about whether I want to go outside and work. I'm pretty sore today. I've been really sore, people. I'm not something wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but there's something wrong with me.
Well, what about what about I just play at Jude's house?
I don't know.
Can you get that?
Hold on, let me finish. So anyway, all these musical instruments that you see me pull out, like I said, I purchased with my family allowance, my child tax benefit. Back in the day, I'd go do a park event and I'd show up with a gong. I'd do a park event and I'd show up with bongo drums. Because I'd bring them out and I'd share it with the kids. That's what it was, right? But I went into, oh God, on paper, I don't know, $26,000 on the low ball for the nonprofit. That's not including computers and internet and gas and all that other crap. It's just basic, bare bones, whatever, as I was promoting it, right? So that in the end, people would look past what I did in terms of promoting it, in terms of who was promoting it, and not cast judgment on the nonprofit because of the trademark. But when you've got professional people running around kidnapping people, you know, whether they're children or whether they're old people, to secure their own pension plans and prop up a lagging economy, it kind of makes it hard to do something like I've done, right? In terms of continuing to move forward. So I got to send some stuff to Tacoma. I got to put up another little box here. I'm not very motivated for that. I'm not really motivated for anything. I get out in the yard and I just go into this zone and I work myself to death, basically. I work until I drop, right? Just because I want to get the majority of it over with. And, you know, I'm grateful that I can grow food, right? I don't know how many more years I can do this for. I'm hoping that once all the brick work is done and the basic structures are done and I'm not having to wash all the time, wash, it will get a little easier, but right now it's pretty hard because I'm basically out there by myself. I don't know what's going to happen on May 18th. I have no clue. That's when one of these corporations is going to try and take it in front of a judge and have it thrown out. I suspect I should have the list typed out in terms of evidence, right? And that's what I'm going to submit to the judge. I'm not even trying to work on the amendment, people, because I don't know how to write the language. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to write orders sought. I wrote what I thought were orders sought, but apparently it doesn't make any sense. When you ask on the top of the list, the first one, to see Uncle John, to be able to go visit him, that's the first thing, right? To know if he's alive or dead, and to go see him. How can that not be an order sought? That's an order. We're asking to go see Uncle John. But I guess I didn't write it correctly. So I'm working in the yard right now. My neighbor gave me some rhubarb. I have to make a rhubarb and strawberry pie for my son because he bought the strawberries. I got the rhubarb, all right, and he wants the strawberry rhubarb pie. So I got to make that sometime today or tomorrow.
What's
right?
it today, remember?
Yes, I know, but the grass needs to be finished. And it's nice outside, and I'm afraid if I don't go outside today, it's going to start raining. And it's already May 8th, and these seeds need to get into dirt. Because if I don't get them into dirt, like ASAP, they're not going to be producing any food by come August, September. Because they'll be too small, right? They have to have a little more longer growing period. So what's important? Feeding my grandson in the fall? Or typing out a list so a bunch of crooked lawyers can pretend that nothing bad has happened to this family? as other people are starting to become aware of the corruption that's in this province, to prop up that AAA credit rating for the BC Liberal government.